Hi, everybody, and welcome. This video is being prepared for Swissnex in May of 2020. My name is Sophie Alcorn, and I'm the founder of Alcorn Immigration Law, and we're going to be talking about immigration options for founders coming through Swissnex. So just to give you a little bit of background on myself, I'm a board certified specialist in immigration and nationality law by the State Bar of California, and I'm a TechCrunch author. I also host the podcast Immigration Law for Tech Startups, and my firm has helped thousands of professionals in startups, all the way from founders to investors to employees over the last roughly 5 years or so. I'm a second generation immigration lawyer because my dad was also an immigration lawyer. So our firm's mission is to overcome borders, expand opportunity, and connect the world by practicing compassionate, cutting edge, and rigorous immigration law in service of the betterment of humanity. And although, of course, we cannot guarantee any outcome, we're really proud of our success rate for getting people visas and green cards, especially under the current administration. So it is definitely possible. Our team is very international, and we're all either immigrants or children of immigrants or married to immigrants. So we get this, and it's very personal for all of us. So we appreciate the opportunity to serve you as you create your dreams into reality. So this is just going to be a brief overview so that you know all the basics of U.S. immigration law as it applies to founders in Switzerland who might be coming to the United States either for temporary visits or to live here and work here and build out branches of your companies here. We're going to be having Q&A in a session that will be live. So I'm just going to try to get through as much of this material as possible in about 15 minutes or so of your time to make it really valuable and worthwhile for you. And then whatever questions you have, please write them down and feel free to ask me anything during our upcoming Q&A. Okay, so most people think you need to have a visa before you can get a green card if you want to live permanently in the United States. But that is not true. So if you're in Switzerland right now and you know that in 3 years you definitely want to move your family to the States, then just know that it is possible to start a green card process now. And that way, sometimes if people are married and their spouse has a career or they have little kids, they don't want to move here if it's just for a short gig. So just know that it is possible to try to get a green card, especially if you're in a startup, and you might be able to start that now and move everybody here in a few years once you have a lot of stability on the immigration front. So typically when Swissnex happens live and in person, most people come to participate here in San Francisco in 3 ways. They're either coming on ESTA, which is the 90-day visa waiver program, or they're coming on a B1, B2 visa. Hopefully they're telling people at the airport that it's a business trip, and then B2 gets written down in their passport, or they have some other type of work visa, which we'll be talking about in just a few minutes. But the thing to know is that on ESTA and B1, you're not allowed to work for the company here. You're not allowed to be employed. You're not allowed to earn money. It's purely for business trips and education and meetings. You can talk to investors. You can set up a company, but please don't engage in employment in the United States. So there are many different types of visa options, and you all will be getting this chart. So there's a lot more details on this chart for you. But I'm going to tell you about some of the main visa types. If you are a citizen of Switzerland or of one of these countries, you might be able to use an investor visa to come to the United States. Occasionally, I've met founders who are Indian citizens who come through Swissnex. So unfortunately, India does not have a treaty with the United States for this type of investor visa. But if you're a Swiss citizen or a German Swiss citizen or an Italian citizen, you would qualify. And basically, there's two ways to do it. Either we show that you're personally investing about $100,000 or $200,000 of your own money into this company, and then you get a visa, your spouse gets a work permit, and you can bring over any other Swiss citizens also who have essential skills to work at the business here. Or if you're getting an investment from a VC, and we can use that to demonstrate the value of the intellectual property that you're investing into your United States company, then we could be able to use your IP as the investment instead. Now, this probably doesn't apply to you guys, but I'll just throw it out there because, crazy things can happen. But if any of you are, or your spouses are citizens of Canada, Mexico, Chile, Singapore, or Australia, those countries do have special visa types. Now, there's a wonderful type of visa that many founders get called an O1, and this is for somebody who has extraordinary ability. And my podcast, Immigration Law for Tech Startups, goes into great length about this type of visa option because we see so many founders using it. So basically, we would want to show that you're like the top, I don't know, I'll just make something up. Let's say that you have a physical therapy IoT wearable device, and you're like the top entrepreneur for physical therapy IoT devices in Switzerland. We could put together this application based on your portfolio of accomplishments. We would need 4 to 7 letters of recommendation from very high-level people. And we would also need to show things like, have there been newspaper articles written about you? Have you won startup pitch competitions? Have you, being in Swissnex could be considered an award. Are you an advisor to any startups in any associations? Have you written articles about your industry as a thought leader? Does your company have a high valuation? All of those things could go into an O1 visa for extraordinary ability. A caveat, though, is that spouses who have this are not able to work, so please keep that in mind with your plans. There's another type of work visa that I'd like more people to know about. Basically, somebody can come for a job offer at a company as a researcher for up to 5 years, as a trainee for 1.5 years, or as a recent college graduate intern for 1 year, and the spouse gets a work permit. So I don't think any of these options would work for you to be a researcher at your startup, because we have to show that somebody's supervising you and you're here to come learn new skills and bring that knowledge back to Switzerland. But maybe your spouse could find one of these existing training programs or research programs, and then you could be able to come and live and work in the US and get a work permit valid for 5 years if they're a researcher, for example. So that could be really beneficial. Now, another option, if you already have a company and you've been working there for at least the past year, and we can show records of your employment, such as you earning payroll, and you're in an executive or managerial position, or you're a person of specialized knowledge, you could come to the United States to run the company here. And we would ideally want to show that you're coming to work here as the manager or the CEO. We can request that you can stay here for up to 7 years. Your spouse can get a work permit. And we have to show that you're going to be hiring in the United States and really growing here, and that the business needs to have somebody at that level. But this is a great visa if your company is already a little bit established. Now, another type of visa you hear about a lot in the news is called an H-1B. This is for employees of US companies. Some of you might have had an H-1B in the past, in which case it would be possible for us to transfer it to your company under certain conditions if you're going to work there as an employee. And Otherwise, if you start hiring engineers in the States, probably a lot of candidates who you hire if they were born in India or China, they would currently possess these H-1B visas. They're not great to get, though, if you don't have one yet, because it does involve an annual lottery system that just happened. So I include this just so it's on your radar, and because it comes up in hiring people in the US a lot. Now, longer term, there are also many green card options for permanent residents, and many of them are through business. So I mentioned the O1A green visa for extraordinary ability. Well, there's also an EB1A green card for extraordinary ability. So this is a way to live permanently in the United States if you're at the very top of your field in Switzerland. And that's a great green card because you can get it by yourself. You don't need a company to sponsor you. You could start it now from Switzerland, never even having visited the United States. And likewise, there's the employment-based second preference national interest waiver green card, the EB2 NIW. This is also one that you can get without a company sponsoring you, and this is if you're doing work in the national interest. So if you have a healthcare company, biotech, any machine learning for disease identification, that would definitely be in the national interest. And so that would be an easy route, perhaps, to getting a green card. There are other types of green cards as well that usually depend on an established company sponsoring you, and the company must have the ability to pay you long term. And then people also ask about the EB5 investor green card. This is for people who are investing at least $900,000 of their own money into the US company to hire at least 10 Americans with permanent full-time jobs. Also, I will just put this out there. If any of you are in love with an American citizen and you want to get married and you have a good faith relationship, there are also routes to getting a green card through marriage. And then if your goal is to become an American and to live here permanently, what's required is having a green card, usually for 5 years, but sometimes 3 years if you're married to a citizen. You need to be here at least half the time, have good moral character, and there's an interview, there's a test, and there's an oath that you would need to take at the end. So there have been some recent changes to immigration given COVID-19. And the big one is that the consulates are currently closed and they're only issuing emergency visas. So if you already have a B1, B2, or ESTA, you could come here when travel is not restricted. But if you need to get a brand new working visa to come here, you're going to have to wait perhaps a couple months until it's possible to get visas again from the consulates. So keep that in mind. Also, there are restrictions on who can currently enter the United States. So the current rule is that if you've been in the Schengen Europe area within the last 14 days, you're not currently allowed to come into the United States. So keep that in mind. If you're coming to Silicon Valley to meet people in person, it may be several weeks or a couple months until you're able to plan your trip and come here. Another factor to take into consideration is that there's currently no premium processing for the different types of work visas that I mentioned. So that means that if you want to plan, like if you definitely want to start a sales and marketing office in San Francisco, and that you are planning on coming here to work and run the office, it makes sense to get started now because these applications can take several months since there's currently no way to speed it up and do them faster. So just keep that in mind. If you definitely want to live here and work here, it's probably a good idea to start now so that that can be an option for you later this year. And before going into any immigration process, there are several things to keep in mind. I would say the biggest is your time, because there's many components. The government will prepare an extensive package, but they can always ask for more information, which is called a request for evidence. They could want your international education evaluated. There are government filing fees. We may need translations. For some visa types, there's a minimum wage that you might have to pay people. There's attorney fees, and when it's available, there's also premium processing. So there's several things to keep in mind. And we'll be sharing this PDF options overview chart with everybody so that you can take a look. And I'm really looking forward to answering your questions. I'm also available on social media, and you can also always contact us at hello@alcorn.law, and we'll be more than happy to schedule an individual one-on-one private consultation with you as well. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. My name is Sophie Alcorn, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Thank you. Bye.